And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, we got a great conversation that we're going to have. I got my full team in today, and we're going to discuss Black History Month and why it exists and how it came about. Because I think different, but my panel think different too. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know. You're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, Pastor David. Oh, come on in. And welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And first, let me give all praises to Yahuwah and Yahusha. That's God, and that's the Christ who saved us. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in, but also I want our viewers to go to our television station. It seems to be that we are continuing to have a problem with Facebook with the shadow banning. I think they hate the fact that a lot of people are watching the show in our groups who are chiming in. And so I'm encouraging people because, at some point in time, we're going to be moving this thing totally to the station. And I want people to be able to go right to the station and watch our 24-hour service television show where we'll have this show and other shows like Doc's show and Randy's show and Andre Peanut Butter and Jelly. So we got a lot great shows, but it's about informing the public and telling the truth. And in Black History Month, there's been a lot that have been hidden from the Black community. I think the Black community is at a place right now to where we need to understand who we are and what we're capable of and where we came from. Because it's this simple. In order to deceive a person, you have to make them forget on who they are. And the history of Black Americans in this country will hold true to say that we built this country with our inventions, with our technology, with our thoughts. All of the things that America was made great on were made on the backs of Black inventors in the Black community. Now, I'm not saying everything, but I can tell you this. The contributions that Black inventors have made to this country outweigh the fact that we're still begging for reparations. And they're saying that, let me get my team in. Hey, Doc.
Hey.
Mr. Binky.
Howdy.
And Randy.
Hello.
Thanks, guys, for coming in. We're celebrating. We just celebrated Dr. King's holiday, and, I don't know what we're celebrating about. Every day for me should be Dr. King's holiday. Just as Black History Month is, and I just have to tell you and be honest, here it is, and we got 12 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
Black people work hard to help build this country, and yet and still we getting shortchanged. They gave us the shortest month out of the 12. And so, but anyway, nevertheless, guys, listen. there's a lot of things going on in our community right now. And I feel that the Black community should be rallying around itself.
Mhm.
We don't need to be worrying about the illegals. We don't need to be trying to assist them. That's their problem, because I think good riddance, because just like in Minnesota, the Somalis overtook the entire Black community and ran Black people out of there and made the community their own to do the corrupt acts that they did. And I think, like you say, Randy, it's time for Black people to stop being that damn emotional support pet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my question to you, and you guys can, check this out. Doc, your thoughts on Black History Month, and what do you think that we should be doing, Black Americans, to the American people and patriots across this country? If this country is ever going to come together, it needs to pay its debt to society to what it's supposed to be for Black people. Because our families were separated, torn from, sold here and there. I mean, the whole gamut that they're complaining about the migrants. Well, we're separating them from the families. Well, hell, they were separating Black men and women from their families, selling them to this plantation and that plantation, and yet we haven't been compensated. So that's my take on that. Doc, your thoughts on Black History Month?
Well, the first question that needs to be asked is, why do we have a Civil Rights Act in a country where the First Amendment says that all men are created equal, right?
Good
If
question.
we're all created equal, why are we continually being in the struggle Olympics, right? Like who has had the worst struggle? Why are you coming up with things like COINTELPRO and saying they will never have another Black Jesus or leader? Right now, that's just direct harm from our federal government, in my opinion. Now people might get mad at me about civil rights. Like, what? You don't
Tell the
know?
truth.
We look. If all men are created equal, why do we have that? Why is it necessary? Right? When you really look at it, and if we're really going to talk about, Black History Month, is it nice to have a month of recognition? It's nice, but it's mediocrity. I mean, we celebrate pizza and donuts. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Literally, there's a pizza day and there's a donut day. There's a
National Hot Dog Day.
Right. There's a month for women, right? There's a month for Asian and Island Pacificers, but we also have a month for the Pride people.
What Pride people? Some of the African
LGBTQ
people.
community.
Yeah. WAIA.
Right. I'm just saying. And so what this has, but again, what it has become is a slippery slope of keeping people divided, as opposed to actually working on being Americans. We've been working on dividing America more and more and more. Our reparations is actually built into the fabric of the federal government. We just don't know where to look for it. Now, we have an Office of Civil Rights. Have you heard about it? I didn't know it existed. Why?
Yes.
Because it's not a real office. It's actually a departmental position within different offices. And it's been there since 1964. Nobody knows about it, but they pay millions of dollars to keep the lights on. Why are those millions of dollars actually being used to directly help the people that have been harmed by the federal government? Right?
Yes.
I don't want to keep having this conversation. It's very hurtful, but a lot of the harm has come from the support of the federal government. Now, a lot of people go, well, I didn't mess with you. You didn't. But the federal government has done nothing but continue to harm Black American Negroes. It is what it is. But to that, you're hurting other people. What, Operation Hurricane? There was another thing that was done that involved Alex Jones and Roger Stone and all these other people, and even President Trump. Okay, was it ICE? It was something that was done. Arctic Frost, yes,
Arctic Frost,
which was very
Arctic
similar to COINTELPRO. So you used us to perfect harming other people in our country.
Exactly.
What are we doing? So even without Black History Month, that does not mean I am not an American Negro. It does not stop me from being an American. It doesn't stop the show. It doesn't stop the recognition. It doesn't stop the history. If we focus more on making sure that we don't repeat the history and we learn the history, as harmful and hurtful as it is, we will be better as a country.
Mr. Binky, you ain't going last today, Bink.
Well, if we're going to have a Black History Month or a White History Month or an Asian History Month or whatever month they want to have, why don't we have a month where we tell the truth? If we're going to talk about history, we need to talk
Come
about
on.
all
Yes.
history.
That's
Now, how many here have heard the Bucks of America? Has anybody heard about them? Do you know what the Bucks of America was?
I'm sure you're going to advise us.
I'm going to. This was an all-black regiment that fought in the Revolutionary War with the white Continental Army with George Washington. You know, there's a history here. We can play victim all we want. I don't care if you're white, black, or whatever. There's always a story we can tell that we can claim we're victim. But if we're going to teach a history, let's teach all the history. Because what I understand, all I ever heard, and I even thought Dr. King was an evil man because of the news. Every time you seen his name, you seen riots. As a kid, I'm looking at a guy that's starting riots. And I automatically thought Dr. King was a bad guy until I talked to Elvita, and she was straight up front. She told me everything about Dr. King. He was not a perfect man, and none of us are perfect.
Exactly.
Even our founding fathers weren't perfect, but we are not taught history the way it should be, and that's being truthful about it. We shouldn't have to claim that we're victims. There was white slaves that were torn from their families from England. This is an all-around deal, as Doctor said. This is a history that we need to be taught, that instead of being victims, we all actually have something in common. We really do. We all fought, white, black, for freedom. We fought together. And as Doc said, all we're taught today is division. So if we're going to teach the truth, teach it all.
That's right. Randy?
I echo that, Steve. And I would say, everything that we deal with in society. Well, first off, I'll say that, Ronald Reagan said it best. The most hurtful thing the government could do is help you. And those 9 famous words, I am from the government, I am here to help, you decline that help immediately, because it's going to cause more harm than good. But
it comes with a cost.
It comes with a cost, exactly. And it may be your cost. But on the idea of Black History Month and hyphenated nationalities, these are all social constructs, in my opinion, that keep us divided. You say you're Asian American, you're Chinese American, you're Mexican American, you Black American, African American, white American. These are you're perpetuating the division right there in itself. As soon as you open your mouth and you identify as being divisive, you're perpetuating it. So this is where we at in society, and you don't find this in Europe. You don't go to Europe and you'll see it says, "Oh, I'm German Slavic," or I'm German French, because I'm mixed. You're either German because you live in Germany, or you're a Frenchman because you live in France. You're either Italian because you live in Italy. No color association, no ethnic background association. You're this nationality. That's it.
Well, because they're also dealing with their nationality. Their nationality is their ethnicity, and that's the thing that's different about it.
Exactly. That is true.
Yeah, that's true. But they built it, and my point is, they built it into their culture. They built it into their system, and so but us as being Americans over there, they don't recognize you. Are you African American? They say you're American. Period.
Yes. That's it.
So that's what I'm getting at is we create our own division here at home in America, and so if we got away from these systems, and I don't recall ever hearing about recognition month of anything over there outside of their national symbols, but so that, but else, so we are we dig our own hole. We dig our own grave and we lie in it every day. And so until we recognize that and say, let's get away from these things and start saying, start living a normal life, then that's what we're gonna be at. So.
Hey,
Yeah,
Randy.
we eat donuts
Yes.
every day.
Yes, we
Special
know
day for donuts.
exactly.
Hey,
Yeah,
Randy,
yes, Steve.
Randy, what's the use of a hyphen?
To separate a word as in a continuation.
Right. So you just
The history school lesson
Right.
with it.
you mentioned African hyphen American,
Right.
Asian hyphen. It's a division. as you-
Division. Yeah.
Now let's wait a minute. I got to intervene now. Let's get back to reality.
Yeah.
Everything that we're saying is true, and I agree with that. But like I said, me and Binky is from a whole different era in time.
Yeah.
See, when we was coming up, and I just did the first chapter of the book, it's Off the Chain. When we was coming up, we was in two different places because I was the son of a sharecropper that worked on a plantation that picked and chopped cotton for $1 a day. See, my take on America is going to be different from y'all because y'all didn't see what I saw.
Right.
I
We
saw
heard
my
about it.
we lived it. I saw my parents work for $1 a day. I saw black people who came to this country and couldn't be black, but they had to assimilate to white society.
Mm-hmm.
See, I saw black men with nappy hair getting their hair pressed out and putting the gunk in their hair so that they could hair and lay down and set their hair up like white folks. Like
You sound like Michelle now.
no, I'm
Look, my
telling
grandfather invented that stuff. It was called conch. And
Right,
my
right.
grandfather
And,
actually invented it.
So when I hear these things, because see, we was just when I was born in 57, it was just the notch just up above slavery. Okay.
Mm.
So what I saw and how we was raised, see, when I was coming up, black people had their own. After black people left the South, they built communities and they built the ideology of Black Wall Street. But at the time, when the Little Richards and Elvis Presley stole everything from Little Richard, all the twist and the twobbing, that came from Little Richard. And we're talking about true contributions that black people made. Just about everything that's been made in this country were made by black inventors. We learned that early because we went after the knowledge, because when you can trick a people or you beat a people down so much that they don't even research to find out what they have contributed to this country, then you make them, and you make the type of people that we seeing in today. We got bullshit black people in politician, political places, not really doing nothing for the black community. So my perspective of America, from what I've seen in the families that was torn apart. I've seen a black man hanging from a tree called strange fruit. So my perspective is, I saw the slavery. I saw the lying and cheating my father out of money when he get to go get his bill because he couldn't read and write. He told me to read the invoice, and the man tried to cheat my daddy out of $100. We needed that money. So you working for $1 a day and you still taking money from black people. So what I saw was the horrendous part of America. And our people suffered like hell had they not had the wherewithal. See, black people, they don't want you to know the history that I lived in while we got here with Dr. King. Black people was all over the South being taken advantage, hung like it was a daily thing. Where you think the word picnic came from? Pick a nigga and we all get together and we watch him hang from a rope. That's why they don't want you to know about your history. They want to erase all the bad things they did to black people, but yet the deception. And you stole everything from the black community. Now you make it seem like we such a liability when you destroyed our economic engines. You put it in place to destroy our families. The family structure of black people is down to like 8 or 9% from the 60s, 90%. So when you talk about reparations and you talk about the migrants that are here, you're giving them $10,000, you're giving them vouchers, you're giving them everything. They're fighting like hell for them. When's somebody gonna fight for black people? See, these months don't mean shit to me because we haven't progressed. But I know the history. I know where we came from. I've seen black men piled up in jails. When I was down south, it was so horrendous, and that's why I'm writing this book. Black people were scared to walk around, brother.
Pastor.
And that's why I'm saying this. We need to be compensated, and we need to come together as black folks so that we can rebuild the black community. Go ahead, Randy.
Pastor, you know why these illegal immigrants are getting treated better than we are? It's simple. It's because we have everything. They have nothing. And we have to embrace the brown community into the black community and give them what's owed to us, give them what we already have and everything else, because we're here. We're living the American dream. And it's only fair and only right that we sacrifice again, because we're the emotional support animals for everybody else. And we got to give it to the illegal immigrants now. So yes, Pastor. The white liberals will tell you, shut up, nigger. You're going to give it to the illegal immigrants and you're going to like it. Just like the socialist ideology that the Democrat socialists are speaking now. You're going to own nothing and you're going to like it. And they're not talking to white people. They're talking to the black folks. And black folks are sucking it up and saying, oh, yeah, Democrat socialists, yeah. You're dumb.
It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. They need the bodies. Because Tim Walz literally just signed a bill into place to give illegals driver's licenses so that they can actually vote in elections.
Yeah, already here.
That's illegal. He cannot circumvent immigration law, but he's found a way to do it at the state level. He needs to be in prison. Like, I don't know what we're waiting on. Pick him up, DOJ. Hello. Like, you need to stop this person. Because now he's emboldening other states to do it. So even if they put the SAVE Act in place, as long as people have an ID now to vote, because they have these ITIN numbers that act as social security numbers, and some of them have social security numbers. Illegally, now they all have IDs. Now they can all vote.
Yep.
So what are we doing? What are we doing? Republican Party, I'm just saying, you've got the majority in all three levers. Get the job done before November. I'm just saying they've got to nuke this.
But you know what, guys,
just like the Biden administration did, and they need to get the job done.
But you know, guys, the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is because our problem is leadership. See, when we overcame. That's the point I'm going to make. Because so when Dr. King was hollering about we should overcome, and we should have been overcame years and years ago, but because of the bad leadership, and this is what I'm telling the black community, we're not going to get out of this mess with the current day leadership that we have of these house Negroes, the Boule crowd that's in these positions, and they're not giving a damn about black people. So white, let me finish, and then I'm gonna get you on it. So white America now can sit back and say, hey, wait a minute, it ain't us no more. Y'all got people in the Congress, y'all got them representatives, you got them here, you don't have a black president, and if the black people ain't gonna do nothing for you, why should we, Mr. Binky?
Why are we blaming leadership? It's our fault. We're putting these people in office, and that's because we're not educated to understand what they're supposed to be doing, what this country was made of. We've got majority of black people believe that they were nothing, nobodies, they were slaves, they were dirt. That's what's been pounded in the heads. As it was said, that they're giving licenses to illegals so they can vote and stuff. They can't do that, but they're doing it because we let them do it. So I'm not going to blame the leadership. I'm going to blame us. And we used to have PTA meetings where parents and teachers got together, and the parent says, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Now it's the teachers telling us that we're
Right.
going on strike if we don't get our way. If we
Bye.
don't get more money, if we don't get better retirement, if we don't do it the way we want to, we're going to shut you all down. So we're going to teach you stupidity. We're going to keep you uneducated. We're going to keep you dumbed down.
Yeah.
Samuel Adams warned us about that. No people will tamely surrender their liberties, but ignorance. You don't worry about foreign countries. You don't worry about foreign. It's the people right here. So I don't want to. I'm not criticizing you, Dave, but
no, not at all, man. This is what this is about.
No,
Respect.
but it's honest, because literally the people of Minnesota, they should be shutting this down. Okay,
It should be.
Your governor is doing something completely illegal, and every single representative in their House and Senate should be coming after him. And if they're not, then the people of that state need to rise up, because there are Republicans there. There's one little blue dot that rules the whole state. Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Stop that.
Here's the thing.
Get him in there and get him out.
They're up there complaining. Okay, right now they're complaining that 3/4, 80% of that state is red. They're Republicans. And then, as Doctor said, there's a couple of little blue dots there. Those blue dots are the majority of the population. And where's all these Somalis at? In the majority of the population. Yep. So when you go to a federal election, I want you to think about this. It says in the 12th Amendment that our electors will cast their vote for the president and vice president who they want, who they choose. Well, when you go and you have a presidential election, who wins the electoral college? The one who wins the popular vote. That ain't how an electoral college goes. So out of the 10 districts up in Minnesota, 3 districts might have blue. The other 7 have red because of the popular, the majority votes on the 2 or 3 counties that are blue take away the votes from everybody else.
Exactly.
That's not how an electoral college works. 48 out of 50 states award their electoral colleges that way. It's nonsense.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Go ahead, Randy.
No, I was agreeing with Steve. He's absolutely right. But you know, to Steve's point, he's absolutely right. It is our fault. It's the American people fault that, you know, the regular citizenry, not the ones that sit in office or in elected position or to an appointed office or appointed position. It is the everyday citizen who is scrolling their phone, you know, walking down the street or clicking that, you know, remote control. It is their fault. It is your fault, America. It is your fault that we're screwed up. And you don't know anything. You don't want to know anything. You're like, oh, I'm just going to stay in my little bubble. I'm going to stay in my little silo and not worry about it. And it's all going to work itself out. Yeah, it's going to work itself out to the point where you're saying, hey, I got this property tax bill and I can't afford my home anymore. You're too late. You should have been in a fight when they was talking about raising your property taxes. You should have been in a fight when that commissioner's court was saying, hey, we're going to redistrict your neighborhood and make it a majority Somali and cut out the black folks and the white folks. You should have been in that fight then. Don't cry about it after the fact and say, what will I do? You better go figure it out because you're too late. So you're absolutely right, Steve. It is our fault. And we deserve everything that we get. And every time you vote, you deserve what you vote for.
Let me say this too, and I'm going to play this clip. The reason why I say the bad leadership is because the masses of people depend on the people that they choose to go into office to do the correct thing by them. See, that's the deception part that's killing us, because when we sit back and we know that we can go, and like we have been doing, there's been an uprising in Chicago with us been converging on the city council and making all this noise. But even though we've done it, the leadership that we've already elected ignore us and still do what they want to do. So at some point, there has to be a removal or a revelation that we get people that's in office that are going to do the job that they signed on for.
You know,
that's why I'm saying the leadership itself has to be changed. And black people, we need to understand that we got a bunch of Negroes that's in office today that only care about themselves, just like Tiffany was saying. Tiffany Henyard, who is a Democrat who ran the city of Dalton in the ground, been spilling the beans talking about them and saying, yeah, we were taught as Democrats not to give a crap about the people, but lie to them and keep stealing the money to make ourselves richer. Randy, go ahead.
I was going to say, back in the 1800s and the early 1900s.
The game.
That's the game.
It is. The Democrats, when the Republicans started moving into the South, this is during not reparations, during what's it called? Reconstruction. During Reconstruction, you know, when Republicans were moving into the South and saying, "Hey, we're going to help these black people get into offices and everything else," those Democrats, they came together. They said, you know what? The hell with this. We finna kick them out of office, and we're gonna take over.
Yes.
We don't see that today. You know, we just sit back and say, "Oh, well, you know, okay, they're corrupt. Okay, whatever. You know, we'll try.
You're forgetting that the Confederate Army. You're forgetting that the Confederate Army at that time was pardoned, fully pardoned, and then released back into the South. And that's why our country looks the way it looks now.
Exactly.
It wasn't just
You're absolutely right.
It wasn't just that people were like, yeah, people were actually living peacefully. People were actually getting along. Even the people that had slaves before, they were like, well, the law is the law. You're free now. We have to move on. They were good. The Confederate Army has changed the face of this country. And we have to admit that wrong. You know what I'm saying? And do the right thing.
My point is, you're absolutely right, Dr. Shack. My point is, you know, we as a citizenry, we need to start walking up into these offices and removing them from power. The ones that's jacked up. And just say you're dismissed. Have a good day. Get out. And they be like, oh, I'm elected. Not anymore. Not today. You ain't. Goodbye. Hey, you come here. Can you do this job? You go ahead and take over. We're gonna give you a trial period until the next election. And hey, if that happens throughout America, America will be America again.
Yes.
After the Civil War in the early 1870s, down in North Carolina, 3/4 of the Congress down there was black. They called them radicals of North Carolina.
Yeah.
During that time is when the KKK started getting popular. They had 37 lynchings down there. 9 of them lynchings were white people because the white people were standing side to side with the black people down there. So, I mean, this is the part of history that if we can't teach this part to let people know all this nonsense about dividing and all this stuff, it needs to stop. We need to understand.
At the same time, in this history, we also know that in the Reconstruction period, blacks had their own government called the Continental Congress. They had their own president as well. So our children need to know that George Washington was the first president. George Washington was the first white president after they tried to dissolve the Continental Congress, which they did dissolve it. And then they had black people to build, guess what? The White House. So even though you say, so you say it's not about division, it's about the truth. That's what it is. And to show the power, the different from the Congress, they said, guess what? Now we done dissolved y'all. Y'all gonna have to build us a big old White House. So how is that being that equal? Because now you destroyed what I had, but now you're gonna make me build you something that's what's lasting to our society today. Let's play this clip and check this out, guys.
Christopher Columbus did not discover America. Exactly. I mean, never mind the question of like how you can discover a place where the inhabitants are watching you arrive from the shore. They weren't wearing pants. Is that what somebody said? I like that.
Blacks as we know them are as old as time. and their existence in the civilized world could be traced down to the very early centuries, even before the coming of Christ. Going forward, the conventional history reports that Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492. And the same history also says that the first black people to arrive America were enslaved Africans brought by Portuguese and Spanish traders in the early 16th century through the transatlantic slave trade. Well, none of these claims are true. We've been fooled all these while, as always has been the case. Interestingly, recent research has proven that some black people had been in America for more than 1,000 years before Columbus ever stepped foot into the American continent. In fact, there is strong evidence pointing to the fact.
What is the main idea in your book, They Came Before Columbus?
The main idea in my book is to show that early America before the coming of Columbus, was a far more complex society than people imagined, and that it involved Africans. Africans came in here. They came in on several occasions. Sometimes these were accidents, sometimes they were on purpose, and that they had an influence, an actual impact, an influence upon the formation of certain American civilizations.
When we say pre-Columbus period, what are we talking about?
We're talking about long before 1492. It is absurd, and only fools can still believe that Columbus discovered the Americas in 1492. In fact, Columbus never even came to this continent. Columbus wandered about in the Caribbean islands, just on the very edge of the great civilizations.
Shocked? Don't be. It is true. Unraveling the raw truth behind the curtains of history is what we are about today in this video. Journey with us in our quest to find out just who the real lords of the Americas actually are.
So anyway, there were actually many other mariners before Columbus that discovered America as well. Decades earlier, even eons earlier, there were so many people that were coming across these islands and this continent. But it's only been in the last century that evidence has surfaced and continually grown to indicate that many of these pre-Columbian explorers might have come from Africa.
The facts point out that black people actually it was who were in America thousands of years before Columbus. Before we go on, do not forget to support our efforts by hitting the like button before you
come from Africa.
Share with your friends and families to keep spreading our eye-opening black narrative, and consider subscribing to stay.
Okay, Doc, your thoughts on it so far?
It's just look, all black people did not come from Africa. There were black people like all over the planet in different locations. They just weren't called black, right?
Yeah.
Because they actually had an origin of place where they were. It's always interesting, the whole Christopher Columbus thing, because he actually discovered like Mexico and South America. He didn't actually discover the American.
Exactly.
He didn't Mexico genocide, and now we have
Mr. Pedophile did not discover anything.
There was a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
Like I said,
I'm just saying.
How can you discover a country when the people are sure waiting for you to get there?
Right. But to Mr. Big's point, we have to learn not revisionist history, but just history the way it's played out. Right.
Yeah.
It's not always pretty what history looks like, but the truth is much better than a lie, because then you'll actually be able to go, there's an aha moment. Let's not repeat that. So we end up in a better place, because right now the new Confederate Army, in my opinion, is this whole LGBTQ movement and this progressive liberalism that we have now.
I love that.
Okay, army. They are calculated. They are now in fact our children. Okay, that whole walkout thing that happened this past weekend, that was coordinated warlike effort, and we need to shut it down.
Absolutely.
I got a question. Where did the people watching Christopher Columbus land? Where did they come from?
Do some research,
people watching him.
They was already. I mean, native. The American Indian was native to the land of America.
Where did they come from?
Right.
They came from other.
They were already here.
Yeah.
Well, no,
because before the continents were separated with the landmass, the mass was already together. You got to remember that, because the waters separated after they were seeded. Okay,
Right.
so the land masses were already together. So when waters receded, people were still in different locations geographically. Nobody
Pangea.
migrated anywhere. They just were where they were.
Well,
Yeah.
they've come with the bloodlines and stuff like that. That most everybody that was here, as far as the Indians and stuff like that, came from Europe and Asia.
Yeah.
You know, so you know this argument. I guess it's an ownership argument. You know, Christopher Columbus discovered America. No, he discovered North America, but he was the first one to proclaim it. He found this.
You know, he was the first white man to get on the shore and claim it for the white community. That's what.
No. I'm just saying this is just another divisional point, an argument that that's really goes no place. I mean, what's the difference?
The thing of it is, I understand what you're saying, Binky, and believe me, totally. But this history need to be taught to our children so that they can understand, just like you said, they need to understand where they came from. They need to understand how we got here. And they need to know the truth. They need to know that Columbus didn't discover America.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's just an argument. It's just another argument to start.
But no, it's not an argument to start, but these are facts that we need to know, that our children need to know, because
both of y'all say the same thing. Both of y'all say the same thing.
What I'm saying is, when you steal a person's identity, I'm coming from the deception part. When you steal a person's identity and then you force them to assimilate to you in your lifestyle, that's wrong. Because had you have forced the Somalis to the American lifestyle, they never would have been able to steal that money like you did black people. See, everywhere we went, we couldn't be who we are. We had to assimilate to the culture of where we was at. And black people that was here brought to the United States, before they could even get recognition, they had to get their hair just like white folks. They had to wear the same kind of clothes. They had to talk like white folks. They had to do all of that just to try to fit in to get progress. And that was wrong. So whatever you say about the division, it's not a division. It's just the truth. And the truth need to be told. And our children need to know where they came from. And Columbus didn't discover America.
Let me ask you
real
this,
quick.
No, go ahead, Randy. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say to Dr. Shack's point about the continental divides. Think about Pangea. That's what it was called. It was the continent of Pangea, the Pangean continent. Magellan, shortly after, a couple hundred years, but shortly after the continent split, Magellan went out there. That's where you get the compass and all that stuff. Magellan, he went out and charted and mapped out the world and what we saw on world maps. That's credited to him. Now you go to Italy, where Christopher Columbus is actually from. He's Italian. You will go to the museum in Naples there, and they would show the original mapping and everything of what he brought back and where he actually was at. And guess what? That wasn't the Caribbean. It was the Caribbean islands, and then he also charted up into Cuba a little bit and over into I want to say now what is considered modern day Belize. He was in those areas. And so so the Americas, that's North America and South America, is named after Amerigo Vespucci. And he came long. It came long before Columbus, So the idea that the Native American population, the natives of Mexico, the Aztecs and Mayans and all that, they have huge stones that I've seen with my own eyes, of the image of black men with big noses and everything. And
that's why the Sphinx was. That's why you see the nose on the Sphinx
in Africa. Yeah, in Africa, but these things still exist down in like you go to Cozumel, you go down to the Chocoban, the Chocoban. I would say Chocoban, Chocoban ruins and everything, and you go off into like the little rainforest down in Belize. All these things still exist, and they show attribution to Africans. that came
Yes.
there and visit and gave influence into those communities and everything else. So to both of those points, the history needs to be taught the way it actually happened, and stop attributing the things to people that didn't do it. You know,
Exactly.
Columbus. So when people get mad when we say, "Oh, it's Indigenous Peoples Day," and it's like, and they taking away from Columbus, they're correcting the record.
Yes, that's what
You
they're
know, and
doing.
so it's like
I'm
it
gonna
is
tell a
what
little
it
bit
is.
more of this, guys, and I want your thoughts on it.
Yeah,
Discovery of America. Now, unfortunately, this is the 1920s, so as yet, no serious archaeological evidence had been done to, or work had been done to support his botanical theories, because everyone was over raiding tombs in Egypt and things like that. Nod to Howard Carter. So he didn't have a whole lot of other stuff than the names to support him. However, he knew that other clues must exist. For example, he pointed out that Columbus himself was aware that African mariners had preceded him. In his diary of his second voyage, Columbus tells of how the natives of Hispaniola actually had given him gold-tipped metal spearheads that they said were brought by black-skinned people who had come in large boats from the south and southeast. Coincidence? I think not. No. So what's interesting about that, so upon returning to Spain, is that he actually took the spearheads and he sent them away, and they had them assayed, and it turned out to be that these spearheads were covered in this metal, this alloy that the inhabitants called guanin, and the metallurgists actually found out that this was an alloy of 32 parts. It was like 18 of gold, 6 of silver, 8 of copper, which, dun dun dun, matched the metal used in spearheads made in Western Africa for thousands of years, as carried by medieval African warriors, including the Mali and the Moors. The West Africans even called this metal guanine, the same name used by the natives of Hispaniola. But nothing more was said about that.
Your thought, guys, and we're going to move on.
That's kind of interesting that he used the word Moor, because when people talk about the Moors, their heads kind of like pop off and explode. And they go, what?
Mhm.
What are you talking about? There were people that migrated here, and they were actually here. They were called Moors, and they were also referred to as black-skinned people. And like he said, they did trading with West Indians,
Mhm.
West Africans that also came over here. And it's weird because I'm like, why are y'all so bent on not telling the truth? What is it that you just can't tell the truth about history? Like I said, we have a very jaded past here in the United States. I'd rather have a jaded past than be lied to.
Mhm.
Does that make
And Randy,
sense?
you want to expound on that, Mr. Binky?
Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, no men were perfect.
Right, exactly.
And power's got this strange thing on people. Some people know how to deal with power, and some people don't. Some people, they want everything their way. They want to. They misuse the powers and interpretation and how they want to present things to people because of that power. So, I mean, that's a fault of every man. And in the beginning of this country here, even our founding fathers used in their writings about white men, So, I mean, through all this cultural stuff that was going on way back in the foundings had a lot to do with the way different countries dealt with this stuff. I mean, black Africans were selling black slaves. Europeans, the cultures of people in Europe, it's power, and to manipulate history is part of abuse of power.
And you're right, Bink, because that's why I'm saying, the black community lost its identity, and it was done on purpose.
Mhm.
It was done because if they knew that black people would be intelligent enough to know and find out all the things and contributions that blacks had created, that they would keep their own money and reinvest into themselves, and it would be just like the Wall Street. And you're right, Binky. It was the powers that be that said, we can't let that happen.
Right, yeah.
the powers to abuse. You know what? We can't afford this. And Randy, what you were saying about the statues and stuff, check it out.
Like Vasco Núñez de Balboa, a Spanish explorer who was best known for crossing the Isthmus of Panama to the Pacific Ocean in 1513, also reported sighting black people off Panama. There were dark-skinned people in the Caribbean long before the Atlantic slave trade and long before the arrival of Columbus. But there are some historians that say Columbus was misinterpreted. He simply said there were people that painted their skins black, which might suggest that Native Americans were the ones with the painted faces he was referencing. One of the first documented instances of Africans sailing and settling in the Americas were black Egyptians, led by King Ramses III during the 19th dynasty in 1870-12-92 BC.
Hold up, guys. King Ramses III. That looked like a black man, didn't it?
Yeah, Ramsey. All the Ramses were black. But I wanted to touch on something real quick. The idea, to Steve's point, you know, power corrupts, but absolute power absolutely corrupts. And so, you know, the idea that anybody who has any kind of power, the power comes from the people, and the people gives that person that power. So when a person becomes corrupt, it is the responsibility and the power of the people to remove that person from said power. So we that falls on, I guess you could say, blank minds, deaf ears, blind eyes. You know, people don't think about that in that construct. But to another point about our founding fathers is that Alexander Hamilton was not entirely white himself. He was actually born and raised in the Caribbeans, and he migrated up to to New York and assimilated into culture and everything else. And he even said they assumed I'm a white man. so
right, he was passing.
Yeah,
that means he was passing.
He was passing white. Exactly. Yes. And you look at his you see his paintings and everything. You see the crinkles and stuff in his hair and everything else. So it's not it shouldn't be a surprise to the American people that the American society, as it was in its infancy, consisted of, you know, blacks, Indians, Asians. It was all kinds of people from all over the world that constructed the United States to what it is that we know today. Think about Sacagawea. She helped Kit Carson and John Smith and them navigate the West. You know, and then you had another Indian woman come along and help, you know, settle the West later on when they did the Louisiana. So there's so many things that we ignore or we forget about in our history, and it's just crazy to me when I talk to people, you know, out and about.
They don't know about it.
They don't know. It's just like, where the hell have you been?
That's the point I'm making.
You know, none of our founding fathers were even Americans.
This Yeah. Yep. Great place, Steve. Yeah.
They were all from other countries. And and they brought, and this is what's so ironic about this country and why we should respect our founding fathers. It's because they came from all different countries, and they knew from their countries the bad parts they wanted to eliminate and better
put together the good parts.
Yes.
Yep, because they all was criminals. They all came from somewhere else. This is the statue, Randy. This is what you're talking about.
The first civilizations that come to mind are the Incas, Aztecs, and the Maya.
The Mayas.
However, during the early 1940s, archaeologists uncovered a civilization known as the Olmecs of 1200 BCE, which predated any other advanced civilization in the Americas. The Olmec civilization was one of the most well-known examples of early African presence in America.
Like yours.
The civilization, which was of African origin and dominated by Africans, was the first significant civilization in Mesoamerica and considered the mother culture of Mexico by many historians.
Exactly.
This civilization existed between 1200 to 400 BCE in the areas that are known today as the states of Veracruz and Tabasco. One of the main things this civilization is known for is the gigantic stone head carving of their leaders. The carvings clearly depict African faces. This civilization was also responsible for introducing written language, arts, and mathematics to Mesoamerica civilization. The first of these gigantic stone heads were discovered by explorer Jose Melgar in Veracruz in 1862. He wrote,
"What astonished me was the Ethiopic type which it represents. I reflected that there had undoubtedly been blacks in this country."
At this point, the Olmec people were known for their advanced agricultural practices, monumental stone sculptures, and complex social structures. Many historians and archaeologists believe that the Olmec civilization was influenced by African cultures, as evidenced by the similarities in their art and religious practices. Enormous Olmec head statues with African facial characteristics found throughout Central and South America support that Africans had settled in America long before its apparent discovery. Ranging up to 11.15 feet in height and weighing 30 to 40 tons, these statues generally depict helmeted black men with large eyes, broad, fleshy noses, and full lips. An ancient African historian, Professor Van.
Now, that's what I'm talking about. I just want to put the facts out there. A lot of people, you want to go there, just look it up, Columbus journey, and you'll get all the facts. My job is to make sure that we put the facts out there. And I can see how the history has been slighted. That was being taught when I went to school. Columbus discovered America and everything was done by whites and all this and that. That wasn't true. And that's why I'm doing this. It's Black History Month, and our children need to know their history. Now, moving right along, guys.
we beat that horse to hell.
Very spirited discussion.
So
it was great.
So when it comes to America and it comes to the Black community, I think that in order for us to move forward, Black people need to know not only who they are, but we need to separate ourselves and rebuild our own communities. I just think that that's going to happen, because as long as we allow ourselves and our dollars to be taken by other people who come into our community and they inhabit it, just like what Columbus did to America, we've seen the Jewish people do, we've seen the Oriental people do it, we've seen the Arab people do it, and now we're seeing the migrants coming into our community, overtaking it and pushing us back, even though we helped build the country. Your thoughts on that, Randy, while I cue this up?
You know, I always say, when it comes to illegal migration and the migrant crisis that we were facing in this country, and people say, well, matter of fact, Billie Eilish, you queued it right up. Billie Eilish said that we're on stolen land. First off, she's partially correct. You know, every I guess you could say every tribe in the world of some sorts, you know, they fought over land. And so the land has been stolen and passed on, you know, over eons, right?
Yes.
And so, but there's also been treaties. There's also been negotiations. There's also been concessions made. And so for the United States, we have purchased, we have negotiated, we have the trades and everything else to acquire the land that we have.
Okay, so okay, so so
go ahead. I'm gonna digress for now.
I just wanted to slip this in there. When you said there has been purchases and there has been treaties, right? So let's take it to the next step. Okay, so when they tricked the Indians out of their land by giving them to sign a treaty that they thought that it was going to bring peace, but instead it was deception. And when they signed the treaties, they signed the land over to the homesteaders who came. So that was deception. Okay, you talking about things that have been stolen. Well, Black people was brought over, they was forced to do the work. So our heritage was stolen, because as you can see, that we were the first people on this earth, really. And so these are the things that we're facing right now, because these all things was done in deception to continue on to justify slavery, and to rob Black people of their ideology. Mr. Mickey, go ahead.
Okay, I did some homework on this here. Okay? Okay. Let's start with 1783. The original colonies that were westward pushing, going from east to west here, that land was through a treaty with Paris. It's called the Treaty of Paris.
Treaty of Paris.
1803 comes the Louisiana Purchase. That was purchased from France. Okay? Florida was 1819. 1845 was a Texas annexation. Our war with Mexico and stuff, all this stuff was traded out and stuff. Now, I will go back, as you brought up about the Indians. We made deals with Indians too. And our government, not the people, our government has failed to keep up with some of those deals. And I'm saying, as an American, as a people here, if there was a treaty, that treaty still should be honored, period.
Unless rescinded by Congress.
Or that Indian reservation has the opportunity or option to say, okay, this is our new agreement now. Okay, that's the way I look at it. But to Billie Eilash's to her statement about stolen land, it's not stolen.
Well, I could see where she would say it was stolen because of the fact of the deception.
Because she's trying to make a name for herself.
Right, but at the same time, think about this now. When the Indians, when the Pilgrims found out about this land, they went and got droves and droves of other Europeans to come and help take the land. They actually invaded the land and took it because they brought the smallpox. They brought all sorts of diseases to try to kill them off, and they couldn't because they continued to fight back. So what other way, Randy?
How was California, and I'm gonna validate Steve's point here. How was California particularly settled or acquired? It was done through a treaty through several tribes of Native Americans, and they actually agreed with the United States to give up California and part of Mexico before Mexico was before the battle, the war 1812 with Santa Anna, and it split off, became Texas. So California particularly is actually the exception to the idea of invalid treaties or and the gold rush, and that's when Kit Carson and company, they discovered the gold. They came back and let Andrew Jackson them know, and they was like, "Oh shit, what? We got gold out there? What?" And so that's when they bone rushed.
Then they said we got to trick them out of this shit.
Now also,
it was already in our possession. It was already in our possession at that point. Before the gold was discovered, it was already in our possession as a territory, as the California territory. The California and Baja California is actually Mexico. But that whole landscape was already part of the United States. It was just a territory at the time.
Right.
So
the gold wasn't discovered until 1849.
What was
we got to put the San Francisco 49ers.
What were black people when those deals were made?
They was out there. They was actually out there with them.
There were black people there. They weren't slaves. They were free men.
They weren't slaves either. A lot of them were not slaves.
They were free men because this was
we're not slaves.
What's the point that I'm making is and to the American people and patriots across this country, I want you to think about this. How did we get here? How did black people get to the place where we are over 95% in the jails? Our cities are ghettos filled with crime, that the economics are not there. Our children are uneducated. How the hell did we get here? Think about that.
Following the wrong people.
Think about that while I cue this up, guys, on contributions that blacks have made to this country.
Welcome to the part 1 of our series on the 100 black inventions that changed the world. For too long, the media has ignored the achievements of black inventors, making it seem like they weren't as smart or talented. In school, we learn about things like the light bulb, electricity, and other important discoveries from inventors like Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, and Benjamin Franklin. But we don't hear about the incredible inventions made by black inventors. It's time to change that. Today we embark on a journey to unearth a legacy that has long been ignored, a series that unveils the untold stories of 100 black inventions that changed the world. These black inventors, whose names have been shrouded in darkness, refuse to let their history hold them back. Their intelligence and resilience propelled them forward, defying the barriers of slavery, discrimination, and racism. In this episode, we're going to share their stories and tell you about the amazing things they invented that changed our lives. Before we get right into the video, please smash the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can catch all the parts in this series and keep informed of our eye-opening black narrative. Number 100, three-light traffic light. The three-light traffic signal we see today has greatly improved our safety on the roads, but very few people know that the traffic signal was inspired by the invention of a black person. The person behind this brilliant invention was Garrett Morgan, an African-American businessman and inventor. He lived in Cleveland, Ohio, and was the first black person in the city to own a car. In 1922, he witnessed an accident between a horse-drawn carriage and a car, which inspired him to find a way to prevent such accidents in the future. At that time, police officers were responsible for directing traffic, but it was difficult for drivers to see them, and their signals were limited to just stop and go. This made it hard for drivers to navigate through traffic. So Morgan came up with a new idea. He invented a traffic signal that had folding arms with signs that said stop and go. The signal would be placed on a post above the road, making it easier for drivers to see. He also added a third position where the signal could be raised halfway, indicating caution. This was like the modern yellow signal that we see today. To operate the signal, a traffic attendant would turn a crank, raising the post and showing the appropriate sign. If necessary, the attendant could stop all lanes by showing the stop sign. Morgan's invention was patented in 1923, and he sold the rights to General Electric for $40,000. Number 99, home security system. The 1960s were one of the most dangerous times in American history, and for a black woman whose husband was always working at odd hours, staying alone in her home at night left Marie Van Britten Brown feeling pretty vulnerable. Unfortunately, their neighborhood had a high crime rate, and Marie was concerned about the slow response time of the police. In response to this, Marie came up with the first home security system when she was 40 years old. Initially, their invention consisted of 4 small windows, a movable camera, TV screens, and microphones. The cameras could move from one window to another. These cameras were connected to TV screens inside Marie's home. By using the TV screens, Marie could see who was at her door without actually having to be there physically or open the door. The microphones were also important as they allowed Marie to communicate with the person outside without having to face them directly or open the door. Marie Van Britten Brown's invention of the home security system has had a significant impact on the security systems we have today. Her innovative idea paved the way for further developments and improvements in security systems that are still used today. Number 98.
Your thought, Randy, on those two?
That's so cool.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all heard me scream out Garrett Morgan when they said
Yeah.
something like, because I did a school project and I had to it was for Black History Month. I was I think 12 years old, and we had to pick a Black history person and recreate or try to recreate their invention. So I had chose Garrett Morgan and tried to recreate the stop sign. So that's why it just stuck to me. It was a little nostalgic moment there. But the whole security system and everything, and the traffic, a lot of people don't know these things. They just assume that they just appeared out of thin air, out of some magical laboratory. And it's the same with our cell phones. Our cell phones was invented by a black person.
Black person, exactly.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that we have that we take for granted that were invented by black people. Garrett, what's the name? Not Garrett Morgan. Lewis Latimer. The filament for the light bulb.
Exactly.
These little things. Thomas Edison is credited for inventing the light bulb itself.
He invented the filament.
He created the casing for the light bulb, but Lewis Latimer created the filament that actually gave the light bulb the light. So there's those little things that we.
The black Thomas Edison.
Yeah, exactly. He was called that, and so we take a lot of things for granted in America and not attributing these things to people that deserve that credit. Phyllis Wheatley was the first African American poet.
And,
in
and
the
then
United States during slavery. During slavery, at the height of the American Revolution, she wrote the the eulogy for Crispus Attucks and others, at the Boston Massacre. A lot of people don't know these things.
And she was acknowledged by George Washington too.
Yes, she was. Yep.
And that's my point, guys. And y'all making my point valid is that our children need to know this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you went on a quest to find it, Randy. They weren't teaching it at the school. Like I went on a quest to find out about the Danish, the slaves, and how we got here, and we were descendants of kings and all of this. You hear the sketching of that from our children. Well, we're descendants of kings and queens, but you don't have the knowledge and you ain't acting like them. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I think it's a disservice. And that's why I say the Black community needs to pull its 10 strings together and start teaching our children this type of history. Then they will have something to hang on to in Black History Month. Your thoughts about that, Doc?
Yeah, I mean, Garrett Morris, it was cool because I actually found him as a footnote in my English book when I was in the 10th grade. And I was so fascinated. I remember asking my teacher, I was like, why don't we ever spend time on people like this that actually invented something that we use today? And they couldn't answer me. Because see, the educational system is not set up to educate. It is set up to truly indoctrinate. And we are seeing it, and it has carried itself out. And it is up to each one of us to do what we're doing right now, to really push people, get up off the couch. And what I mean by that is get your brain up off the couch, outside of the idiot box, and start reading and start passing this along to your children and your grandchildren so that they understand and know that this place that we live in, that people actually try to die. They die getting here. Okay, some don't make it. To actually enjoy the freedoms that we have, teach our young people how to preserve the good parts. Just like Mr. Binky said, look, there were people that came from all different parts of the world to create what we have now. But if we don't preserve the good parts of it, we'll lose all of it.
And that's my whole thing with our community. Our community has lost this type of character and knowledge, because in order for us to move forward, we need to know about these type of people, and that'll give you a mindset to say, wow, these were Black people. Let me think about something that we could do to better society. Our children have been robbed of all of this education because it's the deception. It's the fact that we want to deceive them. We don't want their children to be like these Black inventors. And that's why when they invent something, they pay them off and they assume the rights to it and make it seem like they did it themselves. It's the marketing that I'm talking about. But at the same time, it's the fact that our communities right now, guys, are desolate. And I'm serious. The fact that our children are not creating families, the fact that they don't know no history, the fact that they don't even know how to create economic development, the fact that they don't understand politics. The facts are the facts.
Yeah.
And that's why we are in this condition. So that's why I'm saying, America needs to pay its debt to the Black community. And I'm not talking to continue to put those other Blacks in there to do your bidding. I'm talking about having a Black nation that can be self-sufficient and teach our children about their history of what they've done, where they came from, what the future can be, and how to use your head to advance us as a people. That's what I'm talking about. And that's why I'm showing this. And to our people who watch this show, you can see the deception and you can see how much contributions the Black community has put together to help America great. I'm going to play this by President Trump.
Americans built this nation. You built this nation. You're just starting to get real credit for that. Okay, I don't know if you know that. You're just starting to you built the nation. We all built it, but you were such a massive part of it. Bigger than you were given credit for. Does that make sense? Right?
Black Americans involuntarily generated over $200 trillion to the American economy, along with building almost every sector of American society. Black Americans deserve the credit that we've never received, and it's quite ironic how Trump, of all people, spoke the truth.
Your thoughts on that, Doc?
Yeah, but they want to call him racist all day long. He's a racist. You know what? He is an idealist and he is a realist, and people don't like it. Okay. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. But he's going to call a spade when he sees what's real.
Yes.
And that's what I have to have respect about him for. And it's weird because you say that to a melanated human being right now, and their heads explode. I'm like, calm down. Why are you so emotional? This is a business transaction. Politics is business. Okay. The Rockefellers and the Rothschilds don't make a thing, but they're billionaires, trillionaires.
Yes.
They have enough money that they will never be broke. Okay. They own nothing and have everything because they use politics to get themselves positioned. Okay. All of this is about business. So we need to really, as a people, stop being emotional. And I mean everybody. Look, this is beyond melanated folks. This is beyond Black American. Stop being so emotional. This is a business transaction. The seat is what is important, not the person in it. Person in it changes every 4 years. Can't stay there any longer. He's not running in 2028. I need you to calm down. I need you to calm down.
Bank you up.
Well, it's like Doc said earlier, history is very important. The most important part of history is not repeating it. And when we take our history, and it's like she just said, was to give credit to the people that actually did something. That right there is going to help the Black community, in my opinion. On the fact is that instead of them being talked to as like they've been knocked down since they've been here, start using history as a tool to start putting pride back into the Black community.
Exactly.
And if we can just start using history to show that it wasn't division between white and Black then, it should not be division between white and Black now. So, I mean, history is a double-edged sword. It's like Doc said, there's bad parts of history. You got to suck it up. You're going to have to live with that. But it's the good parts of the history that's going to make that bad part a little bit easier to take. And once you learn that you've been lied to and manipulated for so long about stuff, it should make a big difference in society. We've all learned from our history, from our founding fathers. If people read their writings, that's the most important part. These guys wrote letters back and forth to each other when they were creating this country. There was a big argument. The Constitutional Convention was nothing but chaos. There was arguing, but in the end, people came together and says, okay, I'm going to give a little, you give a little. We do the best for everybody by doing it this way. And we can't keep a country if we keep dividing it. You can't bring the Somalis in and have them set up their own kind of culture, their religions or their way of law and stuff like that.
Yes.
And you bring multicultures in here, it starts eating away at the very fabric of what our founding fathers tried to teach us, tried to give us. Yeah. And then now you look at New York, for example.
Randy?
On history, Black history, although not American history per se, but this is he was a contributing factor. This is General. No. This is General Toussaint Louverture. He was a Haitian general and governor of Saint Dominique. He was a contributing factor to the American Revolution with George Washington, and his statue sits, I want to say, on the east wing of the White House, on the outside of where the statues are at. And during the riots, just last year or the year before, It was some protest. Excuse me, not riot. Protest. There were white liberals out there vandalizing his statue. So
they don't know history.
Yeah, they don't know history. So I just want to point that out. That we have black figures that throughout our history, that contributed significantly to our culture, to our American culture, and everything else. And to that point, the fact that we don't know our history, well, actually to Steve's point, that is the way to uplift the black community and make them have a redirection of how they see things. It's like you came from this line of people.
Yes.
Why are you acting like this? Why are you being degenerate?
Well, they tried that. See, here's the problem.
Exactly.
They've tried that, and they've done it in a way that was depraving to other cultures. That's the problem, because they had the 1619 Project, and then they had that whole what is it called, CTA or whatever the acronym
CRT.
was.
CRT.
I'm trying to forget it. CRT, right?
Yeah.
But they did it in a way that demonized other people. Don't do that. Just teach history the way it is. Haitian history.
I agree with you 100%.
What happened? What's the history of Haiti? Let's just learn about it. What happened? Trail of Tears. Let's just learn about it. But learn about it the way it happened. Stop demonizing other people for what happened, and just what happened. Oh, that happened. Oh, that was bad. Let's not do that again. Right?
Exactly.
We don't look at history like that.
Exactly.
And we should be looking at it like that, because in order for us to be good Americans, we need to know the history of this country truly, especially Black Americans. We need to know who we are. We need to know our contributions, because none of this is being taught into the schools. Besides the fact that the Confederate Army is the LGBT now, and their mission has been to really debase the Black community and make sure our children learn about homosexuality, pedophilia, and all the rest of the bad things that you could put into a community. There's nothing positive in the Black community that our children would have the pride that I had, that you had, Doc, the pride that Binky had in his community. That's what made us America. Our individual accomplishments that we brought together as a country and made the country great. That's the point that I'm making. And that's why I'm saying America has failed the Black community, because instead of keeping it at that level to where Blacks and whites could rise together, it was done in a different way, that white communities continue to grow, Black communities continue to digress, and then it got to the place where we had to have Black leadership like Dr. King and Malcolm and all the other great leaders who came just to fight for equality here in America. So that's the point that I'm making. We have to get it at the root. Black people are great people, our family structure, everything, but it has not been taught. It has not been passed down to our children, and thus we see the Black community in totally disarray, with everybody coming in, with abortion coming in, the LGBT coming in, the sucking out of the economics, the 94 crime bill, the crack cocaine. All of these things were put into our community on purpose, and that was to debase the Black family, to make sure that there be no more Black inventors, there be no more DuSables. Because look at us now. We are tore up from the floor up, and our children, the only thing that they can devise is the chosen children, the college-educated children who they're making a way for, but they're not doing nothing for the everyday child. And these are Black people, and that's why I say we got these Black house Negroes in office who are not trying to build the Black community, but destroy the remnants and create a whole new history of Black people. And I can tell y'all, it ain't gonna happen.
Some of them voted for the 1994 crime bill.
Yeah, they did. All the preachers did that. The preachers went in and supported Bill Clinton and begged for it. And when they got it, it turned it upside down. And that's why I say the deception. It's the deception that America has done to the black community, and it needs to pay the debt. That's what I'm saying.
Black Democrats always advocate for their own demise, through policy. You see it time and time again. I was at a community event the other night where, they were talking about, it was a neighborhood thing, and they was talking about these different policies with ICE and everything else. And it was mainly the black women and white women that were talking about ICE. And I'm like, ICE is not bothering you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
You're sitting here saying, they need to go and they're being disruptive and everything else. And then you turn around in the same breath and say, how can we make our community safer because we got a trap house next door and the police is not doing anything about that? But it's like, but the trap house ran by who?
The police too.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, but the question I had was, who's running that trap house? Well, I think it's a bunch of Hispanics.
You answered the question right there.
I was just like,
in our community,
I digress. So,
exactly.
So it's interesting. We are in strange times, but times are not strange because there's no such thing as time. So,
the American people and patriots across this country. Let me say this: to Black Americans, we can see that. Let's put the blame where it's at. Yeah, we blame ourselves for not standing up and fighting like hell to stop all the changes that we saw with the LGBT, the lying and the stealing. We never, ever really revolted. Black people lost their power when they refused to stand up again and storm the White House like Martin Luther King did. Millions of blacks came in conjunction with whites that helped and said, you know what? We are all Americans. They stood with Black Americans and they marched on Washington and they made a difference. What happened to that kind of mindset for Black people? See, that's the point. That's why they had to rob us of the history. They don't want to know about King. They don't, the Democratic Party and Black people, y'all need y'all heads snapped off if you continue to vote for the Democrats, because they've been against us from day one. When they separated the Continental Congress, when they separated the Districrats from the abolitionists, they created the Ku Klux Klan. They've destroyed everything. Let's bring it to the House, okay? They created Black Lives Matter. They created Antifa. They created the LGBT to attack the Black community. And Black people, now that we got these House Negroes in there, they're destroying us completely. I'm going to play this tape, guys, and we're going to get out of here. Just tell me your thoughts on this.
Back. We need to fight for DEI and fight for this and fight for that. Now, you say what you want to say about it, but, hey, man, our problems are really more foundational than that. So you ain't no need to get out there fighting all that stuff whenever your main problem is that you can't even get along with the people in your house. Your misery ain't that. You come on, somebody. They didn't get that. Let me just take a minute and just say this. Something happened in the late 60s whenever Monahan report came out and said the Black family was in trouble. 25% of our babies were being born out of wedlock. When the report came out, it says we need national action to save the Black family. When Monahan gave the report to Johnson, Johnson made a statement. The civil rights organizations pushed back and called Monahan racist and said the Black family is peripheral. They said the real problem, they said what you're doing is you're blaming the victim. The real problem is racism. So from that point, an activism started, but it was a different kind of activism. We had an activism that started right after we were freed as slaves. Men drove and went and walked miles and miles to find their wives and their children that they had been separated from. That was activism. And then, praise God, they went to work. That was activism. They raised their own food. They raised their own pigs, cows, and fed their families. They started their own schools and educated their children. And then before long, they were building their own businesses, their own hospitals. Y'all don't hear me. Amen. Their own schools. That was the activism that said don't give me nothing, just get out of my way, and I'll do it. And our children were educated in segregated schools, and they were safe there. Y'all don't hear me. Because they had dedicated teachers who understood that what I put in these children is going to lift up our race, even in a racist society. That was activism, strengthening the family. But we left off the family and went to marching and fighting the government and fighting the different aspects of society. And then we forgot the family, and guess what happened? We went from 25% of our babies being fatherless to 72%, while we are electing black officials sell us out and tell us to kill our babies and tell us we can cut off our little boys' thing. Y'all don't hear me. I don't need that activism.
You know, one of the great...
All right, guys.
That's what I'm talking about. My goodness. My goodness.
Send me that clip, Pastor. I'm gonna put that on repeat cycle on my Facebook
Now,
page.
everything that I've been saying, everything that I have been talking about during this whole entire conversation, he put it all in a nutshell, didn't he?
He did.
He brought it right home to us. He brought it back right home to us, and that's why I say, until the black community get rid of the fake leadership and put people in that's going to do right by black people, we're going to stay in this mess and suffer. Doc, your last words. We got to get out of here, sweet.
Yeah, thank you so much for that clip, and thank you everybody for watching. Well, it's proving that activism can be hurtful, right? And it can damage you, because if you're not advocating, there's a difference. If you're not advocating on your behalf for people to do right by you and for you to do right by others, right? Because it all starts with you, then we will be lost, truly, as a people. So we need to advocate for our families and our children and for our politicians to do right by us. And when they don't, guess what? The lever works. Okay. And you need to vote people out in mass. We have so many elections going on. We got some coming up in March on. Okay. All the way on and into November. So I need people to definitely make sure they get out and vote. Check out the USA Redemption Party at usaredemptionparty.com. We are looking for servants of the people and members of our party. So definitely check us out at usaredemptionparty.com.
Mr. Minky.
Well, a mind is a terrible thing to waste, you know.
Come on.
Google is an easy thing to do. You just, if you want to learn something, you can Google it. But you also got to watch out on who you follow and what they say. You know, there's a lot of people out there like to twist stuff, like Howard Zinn and stuff like that, you know. So do your research, start learning a lot more about history. Everybody here today brought up very good points about why you should be learning more about history.
Yes.
So you learn more about yourself and learn more about this country.
Randy?
Yes.
Thank you all for this spirited discussion today. I thoroughly loved it, thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, history is one of my, I guess you say, one of my biggest repertoires that I have, because, you know, like to Binky's point, the mind is a terrible thing to waste, and I love to use my mind. You know, I love to fill it to capacity on things, even if the randomest, stupidest stuff that nobody else is thinking about. I'm gonna learn about it. You know, it's just me. But I would say that, you know, with history, you won't know where you're going till you know where you've been. You
Yes.
know, that is one of the things that I live by. And regardless of the society that we're living in today, it's not going to necessarily be the society that we're going to be living in tomorrow. So we have to know where we came from to know where we're going with that. But folks, you can follow me on rperm.com, social media platforms at rperm, RPURHAM, and go ahead and pre-order my book, Polarizing America. It is coming out April 14th. And it talks about, you know, the history of media and how they've been lying to us for the last 6-7 years. So it's a breakdown of everything that's been going on and to COINTELPRO, talk about that a little bit. Operation Mockingbird, it's all in there, folks. And so you're gonna love it. But thank you. I appreciate y'all, and see y'all next time.
We'll keep promoting your book, Randy, and I love you guys. We'll get together. Let's do something Friday if you got time. Blessings to you, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely.
Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to the show. Like I said, we have to know our history. Randy made it perfectly clear. You have to know where you came from if you want to know where you're going. And to the Black community, we have been a big contributor to this country. It has been downplayed. That's why it hasn't been put out there to where our children can pick it up and think out of the box, knowing where you came from. So I'm saying to the American people and patriots across this country, as we think about making this country again, we have to make all Americans great. That means that we have to rally around the Black community and fix it and help it get back to a place where it can be self-sufficient, that we can have our own, just like Pastor was saying. We need our own. We need to teach our children. We need to raise our own food. We need to have our own banks. All of these things that we need for ourselves that every other race has is missing from the Black community. So in order for America to pay its debt, our Black men and women need to be released from these jails and need to be compensated. All the inventions that Black Americans contributed to this country, Donald Trump said it himself. Blacks built this nation. So to the American people and patriots across this country, and to Black America, it's time for us to clean our own house. It's time for us to remove all the sellouts who want to castrate your kids, who want to keep the prison doors full of Black men and women, who drain their economics out of the Black community, who made Black people hate other Black people. Just like the land was stolen from the Indians, the deception, the lies. But in order for America to be great again, we have to let the truth be told for our children and for the future of this country to make it great. God bless you guys. We'll be seeing you on